Hello everyone, welcome to the Concern Podcast, where we unpack political, socio-economic and cultural stories shaping our world. I am Emmanuel Taban. Now, the Troika countries have issued a joint statement regarding the different issues happening in South Sudan. They've made a joint statement yesterday and are addressing some of the major problems that the country is facing right now, especially after seeing that the peace agreement that was signed in 2018 seems to be at a standstill, and the government and all the functions, those parties that's signatories to the agreement seems reluctant in implementing the peace agreement. The Troika countries came out yesterday and issued a joint statement on the issue regarding the peace agreement and all other issues as well. And in this video, I'm going to read for you the statement issued by Troika and also try to explain why these countries plays a very important role, especially when it comes to issues of governance and all political and social aspects in South Sudan, why these countries are important, and also try to tell you the historical ties of the Troika countries to South Sudan. Now, but before we proceed, if this is your first time watching a video in this channel, please subscribe, like, comment, and if the videos interest you, of course, share with your colleagues. Is a way of making this channel grow. And when it grows, it motivates us to make more videos back to back. And for those who've been supporting us, continue doing so. We're much grateful. Thank you. Now, back to the purpose of this video. As I said, that in this video, I'm going to read for you the statements issued by Troika and also try to explain to you the historical ties and why these countries are so much important when it comes to shaping issues regarding governance in South Sudan. Now, this is a statement issued yesterday by the Troika countries. I will read. Joint statement from Troika capitals on South Sudan. And here it begins. When the revitalized agreement for resolution of the conflict in South Sudan was signed just over 7 years ago, it was hoped that it will bring peace after the country's initial years of independence were scarred by conflict, including brutal violence against civilians. Despite the support of the international community, the optimism and relief that followed the armistice was underserved. Under the terms of the armistice, President Kiir should be leading a transitional government of national unity. It does not live up to the name, with the principles of power sharing violated and no meaningful progress towards implementing the agreement. Public resources continue to be misused. Public servant salaries are going unpaid, and international donors are spending significantly more on delivery of basic services to the people of South Sudan than the transitional government is itself. At independence, South Sudan's oil revenue made it a middle-income country. It is now the world's poorest and its most corrupt. The leadership is continuing with destabilizing unilateral reshuffles rather than focusing on governing the country or preparing for elections. Most seriously, we have seen a return to widespread conflict across the country. It would be tragic for the people of South Sudan if we see a return to the levels of violence of 2013 and 2016. South Sudan's neighbors are already suffering the destabilizing influence of the conflict in Sudan. For the good of the people of South Sudan and for the sake of regional stability, South Sudan's leaders must urgently reverse course. All parties, especially the SPLM in government and SPLM-IO, must stop armed attacks and immediately return to the nationwide ceasefire and to sustain leader-level dialogue. The transitional government must end its aerial attacks against its own citizens, release political prisoners, use public revenue to pay public sector employees, and fund health, education, and other essential services for its citizens. Transitional government officials at all levels must all cease interfering in the operations of humanitarian assistance providers and regional and international organizations. The transitional government's obstruction of departures as well as in-country movements of UN peacekeepers is a prime example of this behavior and must stop immediately. All South Sudan's friends and partners, and especially those neighboring South Sudan, who have the most to lose from the prospect of renewed large-scale conflict, should be united in their messaging that enough is enough. South Sudan leaders must stop the current conflict and focused on restoring the trust of its people and the international community through concrete actions. If they do so, they will attract the world's support, investment, and respect. End of text. Now, that was the statement issued by the Troika countries, a joint statement by the Troika countries. And when we're talking about the Troika countries, we're talking about the United States of America, we're talking about the United Kingdom or UK, and we're talking about Norway. So these are mainly the three countries that forms the Troika. Now, to give you a context, the Troika countries have had like historical ties to South Sudan right from the years of the Sudan Civil War. And they have played a very, very important role. The United States, the United Kingdom, and Norway have played a very important role, especially when it comes to the signing of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement in 2005. And the Troika countries have played a very vital role in making sure that South Sudan got into got into the referendum, and the later led the country into its independence. They played a very significant role in shaping that. And the Troika countries over and over again have become a very strong voice when it comes to issues regarding democracies and governance in South Sudan. They've always played a very important role. And when the conflict in 2013 broke out, they've as well become a very important part of the whole process. They have been facilitating that this peace agreement is established and followed and implemented. And in cases where there seems to be a violation of the peace agreement, they've come out over and over again and criticized this violation by either, if it is the government, the SPLM government or the SPLMIO. They've always done that. They came out boldly and spoken about it. And why these countries are very important, because they really play a very, very vital role regarding decisions in South Sudan. For instance, these are countries which have very huge economies, and therefore they support so much when it comes to humanitarian assistance in South Sudan. They have a very huge part of their taxpayers' money getting to help all into humanitarian funds that helps countries like South Sudan when they face conflict. The Troika countries as well, they make a very prominent role when it comes to the UN Security Council. The UN Security Council, of course, is one of the most important organs of the United Nations that sees issues to do with insecurity around the world and peace and all this. So the Troika countries, UK and the United States, being some of the major members of the UN Security Council, they play a very vital role, and therefore any decisions that they make can impact so much on countries like South Sudan. I think it is because of their major role that led to the that South Sudan being placed on arms embargo and all this kind of stuff. But also these countries plays a very important role when it comes to decisions regarding the international finance institutions like the World Bank, like the IMF. So they also play a very vital decision. So whenever you see these countries issuing out a joint statement regarding certain issues in South Sudan, it is because of the vital role that they play. And therefore, when they issue a warning about South Sudan, if they hold assistance or humanitarian assistance to South Sudan, it will affect the country so much. So this is why the Troika countries are very important to South Sudan. The United States of America, the UK, and the Norway are very, very important. So thank you so much. So this is all about the statement issued by the Troika countries. And if you have anything to say about this video, write down in the comment section. Like, if this is your first time, of course, hit on the subscription button or the notification button so you can get notified of more videos back to back. Until next time, I'm Emmanuel Taban, and this is the Concern Podcast.